present somehow. I felt it for a while.
We must unlock the Forbidden Palace. Mario's mind holds the key.
It would make sense. Mario was an orphan in the government files. He talked to a doctor about a group of individuals encapsulated in light, speaking to him in dreams.
That could mean many things. We must not disregard the possibility of a trap.
The files also mentioned that he had a sleep study where scientists tried to record the data during his REM sleep. Of course, that's how I do my bidding. REM is when humans dream, a deep transient space. It made it really easy for me to break the barrier and create worlds so real. It drove people mad. I was also able to learn not just their history, but all history of their being from well into the past.
How long? We must get started.
Patience. I must first break Mario's barrier, and his is the strongest I have ever seen. Another sign that the dream priests are using him as a lock.
And what about the surrounding power points?
All I know is that they represented something that was kept secret from me.
Your mind is not strong enough, and your heart is power hungry. The elders have spoken to us. You are to be banished.
All I wanted to know was what we were doing. So many secrets. I need to know.
No. You will live out the rest of time in solitude, hidden from reality, invisible to others.
I went mad at first, alone and empty. Travelers discovering your home, watching them do as they pleased. It made me despise life in the universe, their disregard for who saved them so many times. But then after a while, it happened. I heard this wonderful sound. It gave me relief. A relief that would all end soon. There was a flash. Power coming from many directions. Those spots on the moon seemed to have a purpose.
Yes, and we will unlock it and help you earn revenge. That's why we rescued you.
I will show them the great mistake they made. They forgot about me, the lone exiled dream priest. It didn't take me long to realize they hadn't vanished. I still felt them, but the power was faint. It grows stronger in my mind now that we have this human.
Yes, we shall both have our revenge soon. While Azath will rise, this dimension will be no more, and we shall continue our never-ending quest to kill the Order and destroy the Elders.
Welcome to the quest for the Green Bowl, the rise of Ralu Azath. The playoff race has definitely become a little clearer with last week's results, but no playoff berths, nobody clinched, and no teams were officially eliminated, and just 2 games separate 3rd through 10th place in this league, so there's still a big jumble there in the middle. No records fell last week, but one record was stretched a little bit, but to be honest, overall, it was a fairly low-scoring week. 3 teams had over 100 points, but there were 6 teams that were under 90 points. Big discrepancy. Of course, several teams were fighting last week for their lives. Tiebreakers on the line as they're in these close battles, and one of those teams had probably the toughest of the matchups when you look at the standings in their league, and that brings us to... We're defending champion, remember the Titans, hosted my Dark Ridge Dreamers in a Ganymede versus Europa match at the Polar Caps of Athanasu. Just like last year's Green Bowl, remember the Titans got the best of my Dark Ridge Dreamers here to take home the golden pen in our rivalry match. While my Dreamers had enough points when counting the bench, that doesn't count. Instead, it was a couple of monsters leading the defending champs to a 110.88 to 92.94 win. Justin Fields went off for 147 yards rushing, 167 yards passing, and 4 touchdowns. Another 45-point-plus game for the Bears QB, who is now into Lamar Jackson rookie season territory and must-start territory. As expected, X-Factor Saquon Barkley went off for 160 total yards and a score against Houston's bad rushing defense. Devin Singletary was one of the surprises with 47 yards and 2 touchdowns, and the Titans' defense made Russell Wilson look dangerous with his choices by picking up 6 sacks and an interception. For my Dreamers, Nick Chubb scored another touchdown, and Russell Wilson did have a 50-plus yard score to make Kyler Murray's injury not hurt as bad. But it was all Justin Jefferson and X-Factor Cole Kmet. Jefferson had 193 yards in his score, coming inches away from a second touchdown and a possible 5-point bonus for 200 yards. That didn't come to pass, though. Kmet had 74 yards and 2 scores, including a 50-plus yarder, to break out as a tight end. The difference here was Patterson and Algier struggling so bad, Robinson and Gibson doing well on the bench. Matchups definitely failed in this one. Remember, the Titans moves to 5-5 to take over 5th place overall in the league. It was also just a game back of the multiple scoregasms in Ganymede. My Dark Ridge Dreamers fall to 7-3. And of course, remember, the Titans wins the golden pen. Look at that thing. Nice little golden pen. I have it right here. Pretty cool award for us, huh? As we work together at the same newspaper group for several years, which is kind of the inspiration for this guy. You know, I've been enjoying it this past year too, but remember the Titans won it fair and square, and we'll now get to put it next to his Green Bowl trophy, which he still remains alive for in terms of repeating and keeping that for another year too. Moving on, the Elite Mother Tuckers travel to take on Uncle Justy. The Water Volcanoes of Colbeck in an EO versus Ganymede battle. The Elite Mother Tuckers already set a record for the best start through 9 games and the longest winning streak, and he padded those stats with a 100.3 to 67.4 win. It was a bit of a down game for the Mother Tuckers, but in the end, Hurts had 3 total touchdowns, Jacobs had 78 yards and a score, and Mostert and Hill both reached the end zone. Tyler Lockett also scored again. Uncle Justy, who had a bit of a swagger going after 2 Game of the Week wins in a row, has now dropped 2 straight, with injuries still definitely hurting. Njoku was expected to play but didn't, and Dulcich struggled. Tagovailoa did have 285 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Pickens also scored a touchdown. But even the Eagles' defense struggled this week in a very rough performance. The Elite Mother Tuckers are, of course, 9-1 and are well on their way to the playoffs with a chance to clinch a berth next week. Uncle Justy falls to 4-6, but is still in this due to some tiebreakers on his side. The multiple scoregasms hosted the Clash at Demon Head at the Secret Sea of Galanis in a Ganymede versus Europa match. And this was one that wasn't actually clinched until Monday night. But after a rough 4 weeks, the Scoregasms are back in the win column after a 98.4 to 87.4 win. The big thing here is that we have a Jonathan Taylor sighting. There he is. First overall pick at 147 yards and a touchdown on the ground, and also had 16 yards through the air. The touchdown was of the 50-plus yard bonus category. Allen threw for 330 yards, ran for 84 yards, and had a touchdown, but 2 interceptions limited his score. Williams reached the end zone, and Pierce had 122 yards, though he did lose a fumble. St. Brown had 121 total yards. For the Clash at Demon Head, Lamb had a big game, 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. McCaffrey added 77 yards in the score. Garoppolo had a touchdown as well, but it wasn't enough here. The multiple Scoregasms are now 6-4 and remain a game in first in Ganymede. The Clash at Demon Head fall to 3-7 and definitely need to win out and get some help to make the playoffs now. Next, Risky Business hosted the Stellar Bitches in a Neo versus Ganymede clash at the Sulphur Mines of Barbara. It wasn't record-breaking like last week, but Risky Business remained on the rise in this league with a 99.44 to 85.8 win. Patrick Mahomes once again had a big game to give Risky Business this boost. 331 passing yards, 39 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns. Godwin and Kelsey also caught touchdowns. The Bitches were led by Prescott with 3 touchdowns. Gabe Davis scored as well, and McLaurin had 128 yards. Not much else to speak of in this matchup, as most of the points did come from yards, but Risky Business got it done. The Stellar Bitches are on the brink of elimination with a 2-8 overall record. Risky Business moves to 6-4 and is 4th place overall in the league now. AR's Ayahuasca Plan hosted the Siamese Dreamcats at the Peaks of Dracos in a Ganymede versus Europa battle. The road team was who came to play here, as the Siamese Dreamcats got a big boost in their playoff hopes with a 102.06 to 80.92 victory. It wasn't all good news for the Dreamcats with injuries to Cooper Kupp and Dallas Goedert, but Wilson has come on strong at running back with Miami, collecting another 143 yards and a touchdown. Pollard added 128 yards in a score, and Goddard caught a touchdown before he went down with his injury. Kirk had a great game with 105 yards and 2 scores, and Lawrence added 2 touchdowns with Lamar Jackson on a bye. AR's Ayahuasca Plan hit a big game by Aaron Jones with 156 yards and a score, and Adams added 126 yards and a touchdown. Brady threw for 2 more touchdowns. The Siamese Dreamcats are now 5-5 and are 6th overall in the league. AR's Ayahuasca Plant falls to 4-6 and is now 2 games out in Ganymede with 4 weeks to play. Lastly, Loki Lebowski Thor hosted Green Acres at the Salt Mines of Thorgard in a big-time contest between the Europa and EO sides, and it seemed like neither wanted to win with some questionable coaching and lackluster play. In the end, Green Acres survived to boost those playoff chances in a 77 to 62.44 win. Green Acres had 130 yards and a touchdown by Foreman, and Fournette finished with 58 yards and a score. Diggs added 128 yards, and the Cardinals' defense had 3 sacks, an interception, and a fumble recovery. Surprisingly, Green Acres took a 0 at quarterback when Matt Ryan suddenly started over Ellinger, but Lebowski Thor couldn't capitalize. Cook did have 147 yards and a 50-plus yard touchdown, and Herbert threw for 1 score as well. But the majority of this team definitely struggled, including Edwards-Helaire, who ended up with a 0 of his own. Green Acres is back to 500 at 5-5 and is in 7th place overall in the league, just out of that last playoff spot at the moment, while Lebowski Thor sits at 4-6 with a 2-4 record against 4-6, 5-5, and 6-4 teams at the moment, which isn't that great when you think about tiebreakers. Some strange results for sure, but one thing is definitely for sure. 4 weeks to go, we're beginning to see a little bit of clarity in the playoff race. Though no one is safe until you clinch a division or a playoff berth. 4 weeks is a long time. It's a lot of matches. And that's the content for the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Join us tomorrow when we discuss our next game of the week. and the other matchups in the final out of division week of our regular season. It's amazing how fast this goes. Until next time, salut, and check out the updated power rankings before you go.